Hello, guys. I've got with me two casters from Smite OCL who've been handling most of the production and casting alongside their whole team for the APAC region of Founder Series. I know they're both excited to talk with me. I've been looking forward to talking with them to bring you guys all the information. So, with the beanie on, we've got our friend Dice Hart, one of the shoutcasters, as well as one of the owners/admins for Smite OCL. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, proper credit already.
Yeah, fantastic. Good start, Malum. Running the tournament and sort of the OCE and OCL community. And yeah, I'm shoutcaster, so it's exciting.
And we've also got, I messed this up before, Nuxel.
Nuxel, yeah.
Nailed it.
Hello.
Look at that. And you're one of the other shoutcasters, correct?
That's right, yeah. Dice
Awesome.
and I share shoutcasters, yeah.
Awesome. So we've got two fast talkers. We'll leave the smart thinker analysts for later down the line for sure, right?
We're just gonna
Not the
bang through
smart
this
thinkers.
interview, 5 minutes and done.
Yeah, everyone's gonna rap God. Everybody's gonna yell exactly.
Yeah.
So you guys got to have a full region. You're supported this time by Hi-Rez. Founder Series is going crazy so far with Smite OCL. Really doing the majority of the production. You guys are doing it on Smite Game on very early Sunday mornings. If for North American audiences, I think it's around 4 a.m. Eastern time, which, there have been a time or two I've been able to catch it because I've been awake. I know the other casters were joking about that too, but overall, I feel like it's been going really well. How would you guys describe the experience so far? Let me start with you, Dice.
Yeah. Thankfully, we run a 6-hour broadcast or a 5 to 6 hour broadcast, so we kind of get up into that 10 a.m. for Eastern time. So we actually get like a decent peak of people coming in and checking us out. And there's a certain time in the morning that it hits where we get a bunch of messages saying like, "Good morning from New York," and I'm like, "Oh, that's exciting. That's fun." From a tournament perspective, it's been great. We've been able to maintain sort of 10 to 11 teams consistently playing throughout the weeks and competing. And I think the broadcasts have been great fun. I think Nuxel could probably talk about more how exciting the broadcasts have been, but we've been having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely. This tournament compared to other OCE tournaments, it's just been something else. It's above and beyond. It's felt like I'm having lots of fun. Really getting into the nit and grit with casting. It's been great. It really has.
That's awesome to hear that it's been going really well. I know the games have been competitive. You've already have had some shocking storyline moments of teams getting upsets and whatnot that I'm sure we'll dive into. But from an outsider perspective, if you were, a North American, maybe an EMEA viewer who was tuning into Smite too long, didn't watch, what would you say are some of the quickest to notice differences that might set apart some APAC gameplay from some of the more major regions we're more familiar with?
I think that APAC, our players function a little bit differently and think a little bit differently. We've talked about on our cast before how a lot of SPL coaches come from the Australian region, and I think that might give us an edge in how we kind of think about the game intelligence-wise. We also have just a lot of very aggressive players who love to get deep in the jungle, love to brawl and teamfight. So if you're watching one of our games, often our longer games, our 45-minute games, you're just going to see teams breaking out and fight in the middle lane for just no real reason. They're just smacking each other. And I think I noticed you as well talked on a previous episode of the podcast of the Smart 2 Long Didn't Watch podcast about how our players really love to build quite a bit tankier. And that is true. Even our junglers love to build tankier. And I think personally that comes down to wanting to brawl so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you highlighted that very well in terms of the first thing that you'll notice. I think initially the thing that separates, some of the top teams between some of the mid teams and everything is OCE being as close-knit community as we have been for the longest time. People have egos. People want to impress and get up on that OCE tier list that so many people make.
I was just gonna say, I saw the tier list chat take a big bump the last couple of days.
Yeah. You'll see people constantly in the general chat either complaining or boasting about it. But I think that's a massive thing that you'll generally notice jungle wise. Definitely ADC, that's definitely massive there.
It does make a lot of sense. Yeah, watching the builds threw me for a loop. The first weekend I caught, and I keep mentioning it because it just was such a stark contrast to the other regions. The first weekend I was able to catch, while he wasn't getting picked up in North America and barely at EMEA, Ares was 100% pick ban rate for you guys. That really surprised me. and it's just been it's cool to see those differences, and especially even the more minute ones like the builds you guys were talking about. I think it speaks well. Also, I noticed the level of play in terms of like in North America right now, a lot of the sort of dark horse teams in the Swiss stage are comprised of a lot of like rank grinders, a lot of SCC players who are kind of next up, even SOC for that matter. Is it kind of the same for APAC, would you guys say?
In terms of where the players are kind of coming from and
in terms of where they were kind of hanging out. I know there's a couple former players who've competed even for Smite World Championships, but I know you said a lot about there just being, you're good and ranked, all right, suit up.
Yeah, so the big thing sort of our teams is I think our top 3 to 4 teams kind of consist of players who have come from, as you mentioned, they've previously played at Worlds. We've got Sharks and Swifty who both previously coached on Worlds teams. So there's definitely that experience there, and that kind of buffs up those top few teams. You're right that there's definitely sort of a ranked demon scene, and a lot of players have kind of made a name for themselves. A good example is Flix, who
Philks,
didn't have a lot of Philks. Yep. OC
I'm
is
so
very
sorry,
happy about the name Philks. No, he's not. Flix, look right here. He's not sorry. It's not going away. No, yeah, he definitely didn't have that kind of experience when he first came into our community leagues. He was kind of newer and learning in that, but he grinded, ranked, learned from those players, stuck it out, and became a very experienced player. And then the other thing we sort of did is, like I just said, we were running our community leagues. So that kind of brought in a lot of newer players who hadn't had much competitive experience and got them intermingled with older experienced players and people like the players from Sunday school and really brought up those skill levels. So a lot of people have really been around for the last few years, improving their skills in general with our community stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I could definitely touch on, I think, some of the massive things that you'll see separate some of the higher and lower teams are even the teams that are getting coached and aren't coached. I think you can really see the level of macro play that is being assessed after the games and then changed and adapted to in the next set. I think we saw that last week with the Goblins versus the Fish redo in terms of, the week before being the finals and this being their first game, some really, really big changes to their macro plays and which really made it a lot more intense. Fish had to be a lot more on their toes and made for a very entertaining game. But yeah, going back on what you were saying, Dice Heart, about newer players, newer teams throughout the regions. It's something that I only got into Smite about halfway through. Someone like Dicite did. I came in season 7, and especially a lot of these more experienced players, the players that went to World and everything, are just so inviting and open to giving that advice and bringing the skill up in the region so they can have someone to compete with on their level. They enjoy that as much as the rest of everyone else wanting to improve and impress as well.
That's kind of, if I can kind of jump off that
go
as well,
ahead.
a big talking point in OCE that we kind of had when we started leading into season 2. A big thing that I wanted to do was I was like, cool, we're getting support. We're going to Worlds. I was like, we're going to Worlds. But guys, like, what do we need to do? Because OC has not had a great track record first round at Worlds. And so I kind of spoke to the people who have been to Worlds and the people that want to be on these top teams. And I was like, how do we have this better track record? And as Nuxel said, everyone was pretty much like, let's grow the entire region's sort of skill level and bring all of that up so that then those top teams, those top 3 or 4 teams are battling it out for each other and forcing each other to improve. So, yeah.
Well, that kind of leads into what I was going to ask you guys next perfectly. So for a viewer, like you guys said, you're getting some viewers in the morning from like New York, just anybody who's able to tune in either during the live streams very early for that Northeastern time zone, or for people who are pulling up your VODs. I think it's at OCL Smite is your YouTube for checking out those VODs. What would you guys say is the easy cheat sheet? I've mentioned this myself, even on Smite Too Long Didn't Watch, but from your guys' perspective, who are the top 3 teams that they should look out for when somebody turns into said VOD, and what's like a standout player or a star player from each of those teams?
Yeah, so I'd say Sunday School is pretty comfortably the number one team at the moment, and that's consisting of, as we've talked about, Sharks as their coach. He previously coached Valhalla Valkyries at the SPL level, so very very capable. They've also got Shank and Texi, who both competed on Atletico at the World Championships. I would, on that team, be watching out for Tilly for spicy picks because he often grabs the Kukulkan ADC, for example, and makes it work somehow.
So that's where
Vintage is
Zapman
pretty
got
good
it from.
for that as well.
And Vintage,
Yeah.
week 3, Vintage ran like the Chark mid and things like that and ran it down on those gods too. So that's a good look.
Oh, you wait until Arachne is in the game, and you'll see Tilly Superfan running that down in support.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Nixel probably is the best person to talk about maybe some people from Fish though, or Fish.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've talked about Flicks before, Yada massively. To sort of touch on, I guess, that sort of third place team that are kind of battling, that would be kind of close. Goblins is massive. Jed9 a very like top support amongst the OC ranks and everything like that. I'm trying to think of the team name. Do you remember what Swifty and Furin's team name was?
Yeah, the Trialed.
The Trialed is going to be. I think they're very close in terms of their competitive skill level. We had an interview with Swifty, who's been a very, very experienced Smite player in the past, coming back and having to reintegrate himself into the community, learning again. So you can really see the level of experience that he's pulling out, but still that steady learning curve for him to get into those top teams and everything like that. But not to say that these teams can't be beating teams like Sunday School and Fish ? Like, I think they're definitely more than capable, especially as these weeks come on, and I think we'll definitely see a lot of hype around that. I think having Fish and Sunday School being at the top of their game so much, and those expected teams to be always in the finals if the bracket favors them enough, if we can see Goblins, the Trialed, or maybe even some other teams competing in those finals or beating those teams, we'll just be going off. Do you know what I mean? We'll be so excited and so keen. I know the first time I beat one of those teams when I was playing competitively, there's a clip of me. I was off my rocker. I was screaming and everyone was just confused at me. They were like, "Have you never beat one of these guys before?" I'm like, "No, are you serious?"
You're like, "No, this is the coolest day of my life."
Yeah, I think it really atones to the community and how the rest of us feel like in comparison to them, and just that sort of, it's that Sisyphus grind, like we're just trying to push that rock up and then just smash it at the end.
It's funny
my favorite.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go on, Malum.
No,
my
please.
favorite clip of all time is just a noise bite that I've got of Nuxel making a perfect R2D2 noise, just not on purpose. But he screamed after getting like a perfect team fight against really strong players, and it is perfect like R2D2 screaming across the floor sort of thing.
But it definitely connects why I'm a shoutcaster. The kind of noises that I make in a game.
Just dropping all the onomatopoeias, right?
Yeah, but it's a good point
awesome.
that like those are the teams that everybody is kind of aiming for, and it shows the passion and dedication to beat those teams if you're screaming in excitement if you have an opportunity to do it.
Like you want that badge of honor that you were able to take them down. That makes a lot of sense for sure. That's awesome. And you guys kind of set up for my final question before I bring up shoutouts from you guys, is actually looking at the sort of energy and the commitment. You mentioned there's around 10 to 11 teams who are competing each week. And obviously, I remember seeing, you talked about Twitter and the presence of like Sharks, for example. You guys were really happy with the way this tournament has been set up and how it's playing out. What are some visions for you guys for the future? What are some things you hope to be able to accomplish with Smite OCL?
I think I can't give too much away at the moment. We have a few plans in mind that I'm not currently.
Okay, we respect the secrecy.
So keep that in the back of your mind that we've got big plans that we're going into. We would love though to be the ones responsible for OCE next year if there's any opportunities, and in the future as well. We came into Smite 2 initially going our number one goal is we're going to get a team to Worlds, and we would still love to do that. I think that we've pretty comfortably shown that we are capable of running tournaments and running a not to brag too much, a pretty solid broadcast. So we would love to be able to continue to do that, bring OCE into sort of the forefront and be a big part of that. We've also been having a lot of conversations with people like Dilo from Latin America, and a few people from Brazil as well, and we'd love to be able to sort of support and bring up those other global communities that are not sort of in the NAEU region that could use a little bit of maybe production help or a little bit of management support that we can provide. So kind of looking at whether or not we can help the general global community and sort of bring that up. But we're getting a team to Worlds, Malum, I guarantee it.
We'll try hard, but I think definitely to sort of give the moral of everything that we're doing and to really show the atonement of this is just how much passion that we of the region are trying to put in. We've gotten given this opportunity, and we're really trying to take it to the absolute end with it. We really want to show our ends meet with all of this, right? We've got people putting in 12 hours a day, like on Sundays and stuff like that, and throughout the week to really show and bring that production quality that we know that we see in professional casts from, people like you guys and from other, esports and everything like that. There's a massive bar there, and if we can hit that, us as a region, I mean, I'm very proud of all of us. I really think that we're doing an amazing job, and I think that we can really keep that up and learn more and drive it into all the stuff that you've been talking about and things that we can't say quite yet for the near future and for the long, for the long term as well.
I love the attitude and the overall community feel you guys have, but also that sort of just, like, we're in this together. That's an awesome vibe for you guys to have, and it's been really awesome to see and watch from you guys, and I do hope to see it continue for sure. I did want to, for the very last thing, you guys, I noticed every stream I've tuned into so far, you do shout out a charity that you've been working with at the very beginning. I wanted to give you a second to be able to talk about that and mention that charity.
Cool, thank you for that, Malum. Yeah, I'm wearing my beanie at the moment. I'll try to show off a little bit. It's the Big Freeze beanie to support our charity. If anyone watching I'm sure has heard of the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, it's supporting the same sort of charity, and it's based off the same thing, which is in the fight against motor neuron disease, which is a terrible condition. But being able to support that fight is a very passionate cause for myself and for OCL in general. So yeah, being able to join that fight against motor neuron disease is something huge for us. I love to hear that. Every time I've tuned in so far at the beginning of the VODs, I've heard you guys mention that, and that was super awesome to see for sure. So thank you for mentioning it and giving us a little bit more detail for sure. I'm glad that people are hearing about it. It makes me happy.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But all right, towards the end here, any quick shout outs you guys want to make? I'll start with you, Dice.
Yeah, I think, the people that couldn't be here at the moment, we've got the rest of our casting
Yeah, the army
team,
that joined the voice chat before we got started.
Before we were like, all right, guys, let's not scare him too much. I know he's famous, but... So, Jay Beto, Devane, Osmay have been with us for years now as well, and there are other people who are working with us at the moment and working on the casting team, but those guys have been with us for absolutely ever and have been grinding on the community stuff to get to the point that they're at now. I would be nowhere without Redacted. He is the person, when Nuxel said is running 12-hour days, Redacted is running 15-hour days. We'll get up first thing in the morning, we make, sort out the bracket together, make sure that the camera people are ready to record. He then runs the OBS when we're doing the stream. So Redacted is a standout person. I know J-Mac gave him a bit of a shout out last week and he deserved it. We've been calling him Mr. Famous after he got that shout out. So. And then the other person I'll talk about very briefly as well is Gangster Sexy, who runs all of our graphic design. He's our in-house graphic designer and he does an amazing job. The vast majority of what you see on the stream and on our broadcasts is done between Gangster Sexy and Redacted. And Gang is actually working right now on putting together individual logos for every single one of our teams that are currently playing in the Founder Series. Yeah, so he's been in contact with all of those teams, made sure that he's producing great quality stuff for all of them. So great work to both of them.
Yeah, I'll definitely give a quick shout out on top of that. Sunday, we saw Nuke Ninja fill in for Redacted when he wasn't available and did an amazing job. Very last minute for us. So shout out to Nuke Ninja. And obviously the rest of the Smite OCA community. You guys are killing it. Keep it up. It's been awesome. And I'm keen to see what all the more clips that we're gonna get, and all the shouting and everything, I'm sure, of excitedness and whatever.
Shout out to
I can't wait
Malum
as
for
well.
getting us on this interview too.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, of
Let's go,
course.
Malum.
Hey, it was fun to wake up early to talk to you guys, knowing you're getting ready for bed. It's a fun dynamic we've got going, and it was great talking to you guys for sure. Thank you again, and again, you guys can check that out, Smite OCL on YouTube. It's at OCL Smite, and then on Sundays around 4 a.m. Eastern for the North American audience, they start up their stream on Smite Game. You really don't want to miss it. It's been really exciting. Lots of very big variations of builds and selections that are worth checking out, and a lot of big-time highlight reel plays, as we've seen on Smite Too Long Didn't Watch. So thank you guys again for joining me, and thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks, Malum.